Big quality of life changes coming to ARK soon. Big influencer moments falls, well, a bit flat. And ARK 2, at least 2 years away. You're right, kids, it's Raasclark, and welcome to your regular ARK community news. Before we begin, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, share, and let's get into it. Because, we got some juicy news today, folks, that's right, with Community Crunch 467 explaining laws, loot, and quality of life upcoming, kicking off on the 2nd of July, meaning the 2x rates unofficial may be running all the way up until July the 16th, though there may be a 1x rate with a day between when it ends on Monday and with this kicking off on Wednesday. And ARK expanding to kick back with some chilled Kalian soup as you reel in trophy-sized saber-tooth salmon, meaning it sounds like we've got some fishing expeditions upon us. Unlike previous Summer Bash events where it seemed all you had to do was use cooked meat to craft most of the Summer Bash items, this one seems to suggest fishing will be involved, so can't wait for that one, with a slidey and slippery Kairuku involved that you'll need to kill to get popsicles to craft items for this event, with a bunch of brand new features from gun fishing, swimwear, captain's hats, fishing top, pants and boots, and angler fishing rods, tackle box small. There's a giant amount of event skins being unlockable with this one, of course, with everything that's been applied to previous events, as well as new emotes, a sit and this big emotes. I can't wait to see them. But of course, the big news with this Community Crunch is the quality of life updates that are incoming. Oh my god! Seeming to suggest these are all going to drop with this Summer Bash event on the same day, on the Wednesday. First up, we're going to get an auto run feature, which is a big one. No longer do you need to hold forwards or keep your finger pressed on a key to get from A to B, whether it's on foot or on a creature. You can now select auto run, which is a massive feature. Something that Hillbilly Willy was ranting about quite recently in his lives, and I wonder if Wildcard were paying attention to that and took that feedback on board. It's definitely a win there, seeing that some of these maps are getting bigger and bigger and there's a lot of land to cover. Why not have something that allows you to auto run to get from one point to the other? With a wonder, is this going to be some way of negating the ability of being kicked off a server if you're simply auto running? I wonder if that's gonna be a thing. Either way, very welcome for that one, but that's only the start of it. Holding H whilst wearing armor will show you the durability of each equipped piece, so you know if armor's on the blink, maybe in the heat of a fight, fighting bosses or in PvP. A giant new addition is that farmers, Anki, Dodes and Dunkleos will now let you choose a specific resource type to harvest. So, harvesting metal in particular is going to be so much easier knowing you're just going to be getting metal from any resources you harvest and not the giant amount of stone we always drop when we're in the middle of a metal run. And of course, with Dode harvesting stone, a really great welcomed inclusion to see that metal runs are now going to be quicker and easier than they ever have been before. On top of that, solo players especially, you're going to love this one because Ankis and Dodes will now keep on their auto harvesting ability past their current 50% max weight. So out solo farming, carrying an Anki or a Dode in an RG, or better yet, in a Karkinos, dual wielding Ankis to harvest as much metal as you need, or stone if you've got a Dode. No longer are you now restricted and can harvest as much as your Karkinos or RG can carry. This is a big, big win for solo players out there especially. Surprisingly, using the tinkering desk with mechs is back, and well, it was taken out because people were making super duper max damage mechs that were becoming a bit of a nightmare to counter. But it does seem to read like the blueprints, you can only tinker with mech blueprints only, so you can't try and use some other high quality BP such as a scout drone to make a ridiculously cheap but max mech. Either way, I can certainly see PvP players questioning this one, as well as some new adjustments to the stun on the Tesla turret, a reduction on poison damage, and turning down the HP on the Dreadnoughtus, which, let's face it, the Dreadnoughtus is a bit of a monster. I'm not surprised to see a nerf, though, quite late after the dino's been in the game, but it felt inevitable when you start looking at mutations and these things getting much mightier and powerful as time ticks on. A big welcomed addition is a speed increase for Quetzals, because let's be honest, who uses the Quetzal anymore? They've been pretty much nerfed down to the ground when you got things like the Rhino Nafa in replacement. and it's way overdue. Could this be the reason to start using a Quetzal moving forward? And I can't help but wonder, is it some poke related at the recent Lost Colony trailer, which showcased absolutely rapid Quetzals that Captain Fat Dog himself commented on in the trailer posted by Wildcard? Obviously, there's a balance there, looking at PvP especially and making sure can quickly box rush your turrets, but fact is, Quetzals are just not being used anymore, so it's great to see this one. And surprising health buffs to Spinosauruses, Mammoths, and Brontos. Spinos and Brontos I definitely agree with, because I don't feel like they're being used nearly as much as they used to. Brontos in particular used to be the almighty tanks of ARK once upon a time, and are simply now just berry farmers, really. But could this flip some meta on its head and people on PvP start using Brontos once again? But Mammoths, I mean, I'm welcome for it, but personally, I find Mammoths are already pretty tanky as they are. We've used these in boss fights in the past and they've performed pretty damn well. But I guess the Dinotherium joining the crew really does nerf the Mammoth somewhat, and it needed something to counter to be a more desirable elephant choice, right? And I'm welcome to see it. More health on Mammoths definitely makes this a more worthy choice if you're planning to use these for bosses. And holy crap! Perhaps one of the most requested features in ARK is coming. The Phoenix will now be breedable. Wow, wow, wow. The once iconic trophy tame that frankly you only tame just to sit in your base and look pretty, or okay, well, generate silica pearls for you. You can finally use these because you've now got breedable, disposable versions of this to take out into the wild. And I'm really excited to see these used in play, especially in PvP, and see flaming streaks of fire as they bounce off dino to dino to dino, chain linking fire damage, knowing that you've got disposable versions of this. I'm super excited to see these being used way more, and don't forget, of course, mutations, and with mutations mean weight, and could we be seeing a new map traveling choice? With these being just the start of a much larger list of changes and improvements incoming, I'm really excited to check all these out, and we've only got a few days to wait for these alongside the Summer Bash event. So PC Games Network scored an exclusive interview with co-founders Jeremy and Jesse discussing ARK 2. And well, we all kind of expected it, but it's interesting to hear the words from the founders themselves that after their initial target release of 2022 that then got pushed back to 2023 to then get pushed back to 2024, Jeremy Stieglitz explained that the advancements in tech and innovations was the main cause for this delay, with the goalposts ever changing and them wanting to be at the forefront of what ARK 2's really offering. And with a Souls-like inspired combat alongside dynamic world events and a switch to third-person perspective with a traversal system and slick climbing and parkour elements, the mountain of work combined with the company tied to ASA made the realization it was going to take a lot more time. How much time? Well, 18 months of hardcore team focus to turn that vertical slice into an early access game, predicting a hopeful release within the next 2 years. But to be honest, up until recently, I kind of felt like ARK 2 was going to get thrown to the wayside as ASA continued its development. That was until, of course, the arrival of this Lost Colony trailer that, when combined with the interview with Jesse and Jeremy, explains that a lot of narrative set pieces will be setting up the events of ARK 2. If you wasn't aware, that trailer was filmed on the planet of Arat, with Vin Diesel / Santiago's daughter, Mika, talking to a somehow returning Helena, who was our protagonist through ARK 1. And speaking of ARK 1, they went into more detail on why they believe players have stuck with the ARK Survival Evolved version of ARK, explaining that the decision to leave ASE was a hard but necessary decision to throw everything at ARK Survival Ascended, such as cross-platform multiplayer and technical limitations. But of course, now we found a giant split between the ARK Survival Evolved community and the ARK Survival Ascended community, with Jeremy Stieglitz believing that the three core reasons why some players haven't made the switch to Ascended is things such as older rigs, their favourite content not migrating over yet, and the arrival of original content such as the upcoming Lost Colony DLC. Going on to explain a few tidbits about Lost Colony, explaining a new story, new setting, reimagined creatures and aesthetics, and even crazy stuff like lunar missions that were just so far out there from what they could originally do in ARK. With them hilariously commenting on their reputation for missing deadlines and is being hard to ignore, the devs appreciating the love, passion and support of the fans with the best yet to come. And obviously I'm here for the ride. There's been a lot of voices, opinions on certain maps when they drop, being the make or break of ARK Ascended, the reason of course being Raasclark, but I'm definitely in particular keen to see what happens when we reach Lost Colony, the first story DLC to arrive to Ascended, and if that will shift any players' perspectives when that arrives. Nevertheless, ARK 2, the almost feeling left field delivery of what ARK Survival gameplay elements have always been about, is a curious one, with details being still vague at best, but definitely feeling like there's a foothold on story narrative. And well, Lost Colony seems to be the first one opening that door. Lest we forget all of the features promised with ARK 2, they'd be attempting to integrate into ARK Survival Ascended to see if we enjoyed it or not, in helping to define what ARK 2 really is. And we are seeing them right here, right now. Things like building templates, they're in ARK now to use. Skill trees, it's a thing now in ARK Ascended. And third-person gameplay, something I and many people out there were very vocal about when it was first announced way back when in 2020. Good grief, that was 5 years ago. And to be honest, somehow I'm finding myself using third person in building more than ever, and maybe this is a forward-thinking decision we weren't anticipating. Either way, it's at least 2 years out, and if you know Wildcard's deadlines, let's put another year on top of that, right? But either way, as a fan, lore is something we've been definitely missing for a long time now. 5 years again. It's been 5 years since we've had any extra lore to tuck into, and this is going to be the moment, the defining moment that bridges the gaps between two maps and hopefully offers some insight into what the hell ARK 2 is gonna be all about. Can't wait to see more, and fingers crossed this will drop. That's Lost Colony, of course, in December of this year. And something pretty unexpected happened over the last few days. A big well-known influencer, if you're in those circles, will certainly not have missed a very obvious sponsored live stream by Ray, who you might know a little bit better, collaborating with Kai Cenat, who is of course one of the biggest streamers in the world. And well, look, it's obviously great exposure for Wildcard and ARK to get big streamers that are linked to even bigger streamers to jump on this game and spread the word, get more players involved. Will they be? We don't know. And God knows how much the dude got paid. Gotta be minimum 10, maybe 20k at least. But there was a seeming problem that a lot of people within the ARK community were very vocal about in watching this stream, and the handholding that led Ray through playing ARK Survival Ascended for the very first time. Steph Leon put out a recent hot take on his opinion of this, which a lot of people were in agreement of the experience that they were given, and it really not being perhaps a worthy understanding of the survival and attachments when it comes to ARK. A few key examples that Ray was getting teleported from area to fight bosses that were getting spawned in or either killed, with accompanying wildcard staff in attendance to help tour Ray all the way through Ragnarok and experience as much as possible within a such small time frame. And I think that was the crux of the issue, because from what I understand, it took Ray 3 hours to install ARK, losing a giant portion there of which he probably might have played ARK as maybe it should have been. And with having only like an hour or two left of his paid time to play ARK, my guess is going to be there was a quick react to fast track Ray through as much as possible within that allotted time, in some attempt to give the full picture of what ARK is all about. But in doing so, it definitely offered some visual confusion from Ray himself. And did it paint ARK in the right light? I'm not too sure. But nevertheless, of course, it's getting the word ARK out there. It's spreading out there for more people to check it out, for more people to play it. People who love their favourite content creator, influencer playing that game are simply just going to go out and play it themselves, because that's how influencers work, right? But there needs to be some definite positive reaction from that to influence onto your audience. And well, the frustration seen in Ray throughout this stream, I don't know whether it's going to have the impact Wildcard were hoping for. I think either way, there's definitely some lessons that can be learnt from this. By all means, go and pursue the biggest streamers out there, pay them the big bucks that's needed to influence more people to come and play ARK, why not? But if we're feeling the need to guide streamers through to get an experience of ARK, then it does beg some question. Why is everybody playing ARK the way they're meant to be playing today? Because as far as the community are concerned, it's meant to be a grindy survival experience where it takes a day to barely put up a 1x1 thatch hut, and that's meant to be an accomplishment in doing that. Selling ARK and the entirety of what you can do in the game is no easy feat within an hour or two, and very obviously represented in this stream with Ray. And my suggestion is, if Wildcard are going to do this again, is perhaps confine it to maybe an island, something a bit more remote, a small scaled version of ARK, if you will, that which throws you on one island with a small portion of the rates and dinos you can experience, and maybe simply allude to the bosses that are coming. Whilst it's great to see the boss fights and get involved with them, the point of taking on any challenge, including bosses or mini bosses, any challenge in any video game at all, is by learning, working, grinding, repeating, and honing your skills to be ready for those challenges. And teleporting streamers to new locations, especially when there's invisibility bugs going on, wasn't the brightest move there. It's been a long time since there's been any sponsored features with any major influencers out there, and in fact, I'm pretty sure this dials all the way back to the Atlas launch some years ago, and we know how that turned out. But there's definitely a market here that Wildcard are actively pursuing, and it's great to see some effort to push out to a larger audience. Can't be a bad thing. It's just a lot of hiccups occurred during this, and hopefully some lessons learned to pursue again. I'm feeling like I've waffled on for way too long during this news video, but you know, a lot to discuss. I'll leave you with this: new mod showcases by Wildcard once again, two of which we covered. The character creator enhanced mod, which whilst innovative felt a little bit flat for me, and the almighty Tyranno Dominator, which is an absolute monster of a beast to check out. I really do encourage you to go check that one out. It's a very fun creature to do, and it's free, I think, right? With a heck of a lot of new mods incoming as the Unreal 5.5 dev kit rolls out to everyone, and they're now picking up on it and understanding what Unreal 5.5 can do over the previous versions. There's a lot more content coming, some great new features this week, and of course Summer Bash. A lot to see, a lot to do, some fixes still to go, I know. FPS, we're looking at you in particular. How are you feeling about all this? Are you looking forward to any of this? Do comment below, let me know. Until the next one, my name is Raasclark. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and as always, peace out.